We got well, I say we got a lot of time. We never have a lot of time. Let's just go. Here's my question. Skinny and I were talking about this before you even got here, Doug. Why is this team so good at home all of a sudden? And we didn't have an answer for this. Turnovers are obvious. They're +7 at home. They're -6 on the road. Beyond that, can you figure out why a home field advantage all of a sudden?
Could just be their opponents. I don't know. I mean, it could be who they're playing.
We threw that out.
Yeah, it could be that. It could be just the fact that they feed off the energy. I think certain teams seem to have a rapport with the crowd. I think this team really loves this team. I think they really want them to do well. And, you know, on the road, maybe they're just getting rattled. Something goes wrong, and it just comes unraveled.
So you don't have an answer
I don't
either.
either.
Do you have anything that you
It's
figured out?
the wind whipping off the Ohio River. It blows in the Bengals' favor.
You've seen a few quarterbacks. Doug, I go back to you because we're going to throw this out as a poll question. Because as much as we've heard about Andy Dalton, and Andy Dalton isn't the guy, Andy Dalton's on the verge of a record-setting year as a quarterback. So who's the best quarterback in a year of all time? If you go back to the Kenny Anderson days or the Boomer Esiason days or the Carson Palmer days, who would you pick?
This is tough because Andy and Carson are, you know, they're competing against guys that were childhood idols of mine. I grew up here in town, and I remember the '81 season when, you know, Kenny
and you want to be
awesome.
Nice to everybody, and that's
exactly.
just the way you are.
But I mean, to me, you're probably going to have to go with Kenny. But I'm also, I mean, I was, you know, in freshman year in college when Boomer took him to the Super Bowl. So I'd love to say Boomer, but it's going to be Kenny.
You're going Kenny Anderson, and you?
I'm going Kenny Anderson because different time, different place, you know, you didn't throw the ball as much as you do today, and he was always revolutionary, and he was so accurate. That year in '81, without him, they don't go to the Super Bowl without fail. He was great.
Here's our Ask 12 segment brought to you by Wellington. We take to Twitter with the thoughts. Brian Wagner asks, does the play calling change in the final game now that you have a playoff spot secured? But, you know, there are questions that still remain. Do you change anything?
I wouldn't change a thing for this reason. You haven't earned the right to take a week off at this stage of the season. Some teams get it. Some teams have been through this enough times to take that week off. You know, you've seen Peyton Manning struggle in those situations where he doesn't play the last week, and then in the playoffs, he's not the same Peyton Manning. If I'm him, I'm asking, let me play again. I think you play this out. If you get a lead in the fourth quarter, you don't be silly and say, we're going to play our guys to the finish. If you get a big lead, call the dogs off. But I think you play this out to the max.
I still remember a Jets year, too, where they had to play them back-to-back, and how ugly it was the second time. Do you change anything?
I don't change a bit. I agree 100% with Skinny. In my opinion, I think you just do what you do, and you try to perfect it. And it's almost like a walkthrough, but you're with such attention to detail, because I want the guys to be ready for the playoffs, because it really doesn't matter what our record is right now, other than getting in the playoffs.
Charles Robinson asks, is Mike Zimmer on the top of the list if you're looking for a new head coach? Hasn't he been on top of the list a bunch?
Yeah, for whatever reason, I don't. We've all talked about this. Maybe he doesn't interview right. I don't know.
I think Mike's even said he doesn't necessarily interview right. He says, I don't answer the questions the way they want. They don't want a guy like me.
And maybe that's the
which
case.
Is honest.
But you never know. I mean, if Tom Coughlin leaves New York and he's abrasive enough, maybe he takes that. Although I think the media would probably eat him alive. But that being said, that's a great question because he's a great coach.
Is he the personality for a head coach?
He may not be the personality to the media, but to the players. The players are scared to death of him. The defensive guys, they're scared to death of him.
And love him.
And love him. At the same time, respect him and love the heck out of him.
That tells me a lot.
Absolutely. So, I mean, he'd be an ideal coach, but right now I think he's very content with where he is. We'll see here
maybe as a
in
press
month.
Secretary. How about if he does
there
that?
You go.
If he has somebody to manage him, maybe. All right, we're very quick. Do they beat the Ravens in the finale?
Absolutely.
What?
Absolutely.
All right, Skinny.
Absolutely.
It takes us aback,
it does,
doesn't it? Because
yes.
I already know what your answer is.
I'm saying yes, but
You've been yes for 16 straight weeks.
No, I said 11-5.
That's right. You're right.
11-5. I said 11-5 early in the year. So
and you're going to give him one more?
I stick with it. Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
Pelf, thanks very much. Gentlemen, thanks as always.